damn fiction factory. That fact so disgusted him that he racked up his quill, founded a school banking system, and set to work to earn the money he needed to address himself seriously to his art. Then, and only then, would he be able to make an important statement about life. It took him 10 years to arrive at equivalency with Paul Lamar, and another 7 to gain equivalency with Burroughs by creating a character with universal appeal. But he did what he set out to do and then some. Tarzan, after all, is at most a nobleman of nature, both outwardly and inwardly simple, whereas Nero Wolfe is, in the words of Jacques Barzun, a portrait of the educated man. But that is not all. Wolfe has at his side the inestimable Archie, who is, Barzun tells us, one of the folk heroes in which the modern American temper can see itself transfigured. Both partake of the vitality of their creator. Small wonder that Philip Jose Farmer, in Tarzan Alive, 1972, claimed that Tarzan's grandfather was the brother of Nero Wolfe's grandmother. Tarzan should be so lucky. Under the Andes, a scientific romance, is not only Rex Stout's one excursion into the lost race subgenre, it is, with the sole exception of Pamford and Peace, a short story published in 1913 in which a devil visits the world of the future, the year 1970, his only experiment with fantasy fiction of any kind. Science fiction was repugnant to him. The characters aren't real people, he complained. He would neither write it nor read it, yet it was Rex's nature to do his conscientious best by anything that he attempted. Peddling the preposterous in fiction, he concluded, is by no means paltry per se. It depends on whether the reader feels himself gagging or whether he swallows it with pleasure. Having made his commitment to contribute to the lost race subgenre, Rex Stout held to his customary standards. The end result was a book that could be read with contentment and delight even by readers who, by long exposure to the subgenre, brought to the experience exacting standards and discriminating judgment. It must, therefore, come as no surprise to us that in 1972, in Under the Moons of Mars, Sam Moskowitz acclaimed Under the Andes as a novel that is extraordinarily vigorous and well-written. The question now most naturally arises, how did it happen that a splendid lost race novel, unstintingly crafted by a novelist whose subsequent efforts would earn him international respect and acclaim, remained all but forgotten for 70 years? Several things, none sufficient in itself, but adequate if taken in aggregate, account for this neglect. In the first place, the copyright to Under the Andes did not belong to Rex Stout, but to Frank Munsey and his successors. Rex could not expect to profit financially from its republication, of course, but even that fact would not have been crucial to him. He welcomed the income his writing brought him, but was not avaricious. What mattered to him was not disappointing the expectations of his readers. To him, everything he wrote between 1912 and 1916 was apprentice work. By the time he resumed writing again, after the 17-year hiatus, he had, under the influence of Joseph Conrad, whose houseguest he had been in 1922, elevated his standards. He never reread what he had written earlier. Indeed, he kept no copies of the magazines in which his early work appeared, or a record of what he had written and published then. He probably supposed it was uniformly wretched and best forgotten. It would have dismayed him to think that a readership loyal to Nero Wolfe and Archie Goodwin would, in anticipation of encountering more of the same, buy a book of his which would instead lure them into New York's Tenderloin district, as in Her Forbidden Night, bear them off to the Trojan Wars, as in The Great Legend, plunge them into Balkan intrigue, though this would bring them closer to the world from which Nero Wolfe emerged, as in A Prize for Princes, or sweep them into a fantastic confrontation with misshapen trolls in subterranean caverns in the Andes, as in Under the Andes. Rex Stout was not lacking in self-esteem, but he was too reasonable to think he had such a hold on his readers that they would find value in everything he had written. In the second place, those who did control the copyrights for Rex Stout's early works had, as well, the copyrights for thousands of other pieces of fiction. Moreover, in most instances they themselves lacked copies of the magazines in which this material appeared, and accordingly had no way of assessing its merit and, therefore, of determining whether or not a market for it existed. Those few libraries that did have copies were reluctant to copy them. The pulp paper was fragile.